do it from here. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Joma, members of the Bureau, distinguished delegates and observers, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased and honored to address you at this year's session of the Committee of Experts on Public Administration on the very important theme of public governance for results. The selection of this theme for the 10th session of Cepa could not have come at a more opportune time. The recessionary economic climate associated with rising food prices and increasing unemployment that we are witnessing today poses special challenges for effective governance because it is associated with poverty, hunger, and social discontent with its affinity to conflicts. Conflicts impact government capacities by eroding state legitimacy due to loss of control by governments over the delivery of essential public services, such as education, health, employment, water, and sanitation. The events of the recent past remind us of the close link between public governance and economic development and bring into sharp focus the fact that public governance must succeed in creating public value. As we speak, many national and international stakeholders are thinking of the basic question on how public governance can be made more effective by focusing on results that support effective socio-economic development. There is a growing recognition on the part of the various stakeholders that the United Nations can do more to integrate peace and development in a more systemic fashion, especially through initiatives and activities that are interlinked across the various government departments and agencies. This, in my view, constitutes the public governance agenda that we are gathered here to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, this year the annual ministerial review will discuss the subject of implementing the international agreed goals and commitments in regard to education. Because more than anything else, the gap of quality education, knowledge, and technical skills widens the gap in economic and social opportunities, giving rise to social discontent. We do know that tremendous progress has been made in the past decades towards achieving universal primary education. However, 72 million children are still denied the right to education due to financial, social, and other barriers. Lack of teachers and teacher training and the inadequate design of appropriate curricula often confound education policies and programs. Furthermore, the quality of education in terms of learning outcomes and educational attainment, which would facilitate a transition into the labor market, is still a challenge facing many developing countries. Over half of the children who are currently out of school live in conflict-affected, fragile states, lending urgency to the issue of public governance in education. Nowhere are the results of public governance more visible than in education. Since regulatory education regimes are still within the domain of the governments, governance structure and practices in the education sector matters. The government's setting of policy targets, outcomes, and budgets reflect national priorities, but also defines parameters within which the private schools operate. While discussing the importance of public governance, one should keep in mind that in today's globalized society, information and communication technologies can be especially useful in achieving results. For effective integration within the digitized world, traditional education must be accompanied and integrated with the use of ICTs in education. Not only does this expedite and extend the delivery of education programs, it facilitates the synthesis of this with local knowledge and cultures, incorporating exposure to modern technologies and facilitating adaptation to the needs of local recipients. We have seen in many parts of the world that it's through a judicious blend of educational skills and information technology that indigenous processes have been translated into a local model of sustainable development. As this important body begins its deliberations, I would like to suggest a few areas it may wish to consider in its deliberations. One, the issue of how results should be built into the public governance framework. Two, what processes and mechanisms will assure the delivery of results. Three, how we can encourage participation by citizens in the process of governance. Four, what revisions need to be made to the regulatory environment to assure a results-based public governance agenda. And five, what monitoring and evaluation mechanism need to be built into the public governance framework to assure achievement of maximum quality results on a sustained basis. Ladies and gentlemen, the discussions of Cepa are pivotal to exploring the linkages between public governance and education within the context of the Millennium Development Goals. The discussions in the next few days are especially important in terms of their relevance to the annual ministerial review, as also to current world events, especially governance of post-conflict and post-disaster reconstruction. We know that the advancement of a cohesive governance framework for meeting these challenges will greatly contribute to the UN Development Agenda. In this regard, I feel that the Committee of Experts on Public Administration can greatly assist the Council in its work on sustainable economic and social development. We are looking forward to your deliberations, conclusions, and recommendations on principles of a framework which would guide our work on public governance and its results. I wish you all the very best in this challenging endeavor and emphasize that the Council is counting on you and your continuing advice and support in assisting the members towards achievement of the UN Development Agenda, including the Millennium Development Goals. Thank you very much for your attention.
Excellency,